What is going on, collectors? Optical 20 back again for another video review. We're going to take a look at 3A Optimus Prime from the movie Bumblebee, and you can pre-order this figure at BigBadToyStore.com. Just click the link down below. They offer $4 shipping and they double box your figures. Especially this figure is pretty heavy. And I believe it's already been released. I've had this on my pile of loot, and it's been sitting there for a while. I'm just waiting for the right opportunity so I can save on shipping. And I finally did, because Gimli, him, and the guy, another 3A figure, Game of Thrones, Jon Snow. You know, I've been waiting for them, and finally have them shipped. And look at this figure right here. So it is beautiful. I had a Bumblebee from 3A before, or is it 3-0? 3A, 3-0. I think they're both the same. So it's a beautiful figure. I'm talking about Bumblebee, so I'm pretty sure this is beautiful as well. The box is, you know, it has the window actually that you can see the figure inside. The bad part is that they don't have a shipper box. So, and you know, the shipper box police out there. The reason I want shipper box is because I put these guys in a garage, and the shipper box protect the actual box. So when I decide to sell them in the future, you know, it's better. I don't understand those guys who throw away shipper box but leave the box. I mean, the shipper box is what, like half an inch thick? That if you are, just put them inside the shipper box. I'm talking about the box. So, I mean, whatever. But here you go. This is the guy. So he's obviously housed in a clamshell. And you just take this out. Back in the day when I was young, this is one of the staple of my childhood, which is Transformers, Ghostbusters, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, what else? G.I. Joe, and Thundercats. So those are the 5 that I always watched, you know, back in the day. So this is a must-have for me. Outside of the fact that it's just beautiful. The figure itself, it's die-cast. There's so many parts that are movable parts that you can pose them, you know, however you wanted, without any fear of breaking anything on the figure, which is phenomenal from 3-0, that they were able to achieve this type of level of, I guess, the detail in the figure, plus you can move it around. It's just amazing, you know, compared to, let's say, an Iron Man, which is also movable, don't get me wrong, but there are some figures that you can barely move, and you're always scared that you're gonna break something. Now, you're not gonna feel the same way about Optimus Prime from 3-0. And the one thing that I would say that they can improve on is the base. I'm not a big fan of this base. That is removable, that part which you can attach to his back, but it's so limited that if you just want a standing pose, that he's basically going to stand on the edge of the base. It's a horrible base in my opinion. They could do a lot better. As far as his accessories, it's great. You know, he comes with this gun. Although this is a bit more expensive than Bumblebee though. I believe I got Bumblebee for like $134 when it got first released as pre-order. He is $200, Optimus Prime, if not $189. And is there a big difference as height-wise? Yes, he's much larger than Bumblebee. Maybe the parts are a bit more intricate as far as details are concerned. But I don't know if it should, you know, be $200. Because he's still a bit smaller than a regular Hot Toys figure. But he's also not wider. He's a bit narrower in the shoulder. But hey, you know what? He has a light up functionality. I wish his chest were lit up. And also like the lights on him, on his... You know, when he becomes a... He doesn't transform. So, for those who are, you know, like... mentioning that, hey, it's a Transformer that doesn't transform. Yes, it doesn't transform. He is just Optimus Prime in a robot form all throughout. And that's it. But he looks still pretty badass. So, don't worry about that. If you want something that transforms, I'm sure there's a whole lot of the MP series and all that stuff that you could buy that transform. But for this guy, he's mostly made to look cool on your shelf, which he does a great job of. And this is him. Look at all those details. Not all of them are moving parts. Basically, the one on his waist area, they kind of do move around to get better articulation when it comes to the legs, to his waist. Some people already had reviewed this as you know, as early as October of last year. And like I said, this has been sitting on my pile of loot. I actually forgot about him. So since January, I believe, and I just waited and waited till they shipped him out. And this you know, pandemic that we got recently kind of delayed the shipping from Big Bad. So I just kind of held on to it. But look at those details on his arms, on his legs, everything. Once you get this guy, you know, you can just... Those tires on his legs, everything is movable, from his double jointed elbows, his ankles, his feet. You can also has a pull down. We're going to talk about the articulation on his legs, so you can get more range of movement as if you already don't have one. There are a few places though that it's a little bit scary when you're trying to move him, especially on the arms, on his arms when you are changing. Oh my god, that is a nightmare, by the way. Changing hands on this guy is just a nightmare because mine is a little bit too stiff. And the ball joint is not like the Hot Toys ball joint where you can kind of move them around. Once you stick them in there, it's so tight that you are kind of forced to move around. And I think there's ridges in the ball joints as well that restricts you from moving the hands, to rotate the hands. So you're gonna rotate his forearm instead. But oh my god, look at this back. That's back piece right here. Just beautiful. That's just absolute beautiful. That everything on this figure is. There's no shortcuts. Like everything looks mechanical, as it should be. Everything, because I did have the Optimus Prime from Hot Toys as well, and that is more of a cartoon robot, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, like a G1 or something. I forgot, but this is more of the movie version Optimus Prime from Bumblebee, and that has a bit more details compared to the box type cartoon that we got from Hot Toys. Although that's not a bad figure itself, it has some battle damage on it. I did eventually sold it to a good friend of mine, and that figure was going on for cheap on Big Bad Toy Store back in the day. That Optimus Prime, I think it went as low as $180, maybe even $150 at some point. And it's a nice looking figure, don't get me wrong. Just this is better in my opinion though. A lot of better. It's more of a die cast. You can really feel the weight of the figure, and when you hold it, it's cold. You can feel the metal and all these little details on in his head sculpt and his body. It's just, look at that. And it has a light up functionality, and the batteries that I've used, unfortunately, I believe is used, so it's not as bright as it should be. Look at him on the back right here. Also, one thing that a complaint that I do have is it's easy to remove and insert his head, but it's also easy to be taken out of. You know, if you're just moving his head left to right, you know, just making him look sideways, it just comes off. And it's not really that big of a problem. It's just really annoying because you gotta pop it on again, and the hands are just a nightmare to replace. I'm in a point now where I just don't want to remove the hands altogether. And I know the method. I created a video, you know, get a heater gun and kind of warm it up and all that stuff, but realistically, who has all the time to do that? So if you have like a gazillion figures, you're just inclined not to change hands altogether. I'm just gonna do it when I'm taking pictures, and even that is a pain. And you can see that there's a button in the head. He only comes with one head sculpt, and that is enough. Obviously, it doesn't change his facial expression or anything like that, but yeah, you can see it's already blue when it's not lighting up, but when it lights up, it's a lot brighter. You won't see it here though. In person, it's a lot brighter. And like I said, I used a used battery on this one. So, and you can see we're just going to give you a sample of any articulation that he does have here. So there is some bicep movement, double jointed on his knee. So you can have him in a kneeling pose if you wanted to, which I did. And some parts do hit each other, so that is also on the manual, on the instruction booklet. Try to avoid that because the paint might rub off and all that stuff. So you know, you don't want to damage a $200 figure, obviously, with tax nowadays as well, and shipping. You know, it's really expensive. And look at that bend on his waist. I know there's some waist movement here as well. You got to pull down his legs, but you can see here, this is movable. The one on the side on his hips and his legs, I didn't, you know, pull down the back part because I know it's hitting that back part. But on the back part, I didn't show it here, and also the front one, because I just jumped on it thinking that, hey, there should be some limitation in here. There's not a whole lot of limitations on his legs, also in his, you know, waist and arms. Free range of movement. One of the better articulated figures that I've ever held in my life, especially in this magnitude where it's die cast. It's really heavy, and there's a lot of parts that are scary. And I think the one on the arm, I didn't break it off, but it came off. You can snap it on easily. on his, arms as well. There's shoulder like butterfly joints in there. Unlike Hot Toys that you gotta push it in and push it out, it's not like that. It just pops out on its own. So it's really, really beautiful figure. And if you want to display him in like a pose where he's more of a dynamic, this is where the base comes in. You can pose him in this dynamic pose because the base does help out in that manner where you can push it up and down. But overall, I'm not a big fan of the base. It could have been a lot better in my opinion. With the logo, it's also in blue. You can barely see it. So yeah, but it is what it is. At least it comes with a base compared to some of their figures. I'm talking about like 3 Zeros, which is their, I believe, not Lord of the Rings, their Game of Thrones line doesn't have any base whatsoever. And here he is, look at that, kneeling down properly with no base or stand whatsoever. And because of the feet is so wide that you don't actually need a base. Him and Bumblebee's feet is just wide and you have no problems with them standing. I do have kids, actually 3 of them at home. That's why I use the base all the time, because they do play ball inside the house, in which they shouldn't. Those balls are kind of like a plastic balls. They're not basketballs, which are heavy, but at the same time they can knock down figures easily. That's why I always am a component of bases and stands, just in case. You never know, like you never know when these things are gonna happen. But look at this guy right here, kneeling down. I'm just giving you a 360 look because obviously I can't put him on my rotating base because of the legs are being spread apart nicely. I can just, back in the day when we have this Iron Man, this landing post, we're always having, it's like, how are we gonna do it? And there you go. That's exactly how you're gonna do that. And here he is, height comparison wise, with Bumblebee and that backdrop that I used. That is just, just beautiful right there. I forgot which scene that was in the movie, but here he is with Bumblebee. Obviously, he's so much taller and bigger than Bumblebee, but for the price that you're paying this for, I think it's a good price that you're getting for. I'm just afraid that because they know, 3A knows that they're doing something good with these figures, and I think their sound wave is about to come out pretty soon as well. I don't know if I'm really gonna get that. I think I'm happy with this too. And here he is compared to the armored Batman from Hot Toys. As you can see, he is shorter than armored Batman. Armored Batman is known as being a tall figure as well, but you can see the lights on his eyes is much brighter than Optimus Prime. But like I said earlier, the battery is used. But here he is in a display form with Bumblebee. Like their bases are wide, that for no reason, I guess, to support them, because they're a bit heavy if you decide to put him on a dynamic pose. So I suppose you can put Bumblebee in the front, but since he is the topic of this review, I'm gonna put him on the front. And there's enough room, as you can see, from if you're using a D12 cabinet, there's enough room between him and his head that he's not gonna touch the ceiling of the your cabinet. So you can put him in a dynamic pose if you wish to do so. But just beautiful, intimidating presence in your display cabinet. I highly do recommend Optimus Prime. And here he is with his gun. Just the blaster, it just looks nice. This is mostly the display that I'm gonna put him in. The beauty of this figure is there's no fabric, nothing. So if you want to leave him in a dynamic pose, you can go ahead and do so. However, if you do go ahead and decide to do that, you might just be prepared for a larger cabinet, because obviously dynamic pose requires real estate. But if you have enough, I would go ahead and recommend that. So there you go, guys. Can't recommend this figure enough. $200, you're gonna get your money's worth, in my opinion, especially if you're what do you call it, a Transformer fan. Yes, it doesn't transform, but it's okay. It still looks cool in your desk, in your display case, whatever the case may be. So thank you for watching, guys. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, because I upload pictures in there all the time. And also, if you want to chat with me, I do some I try to do some live streams every Saturday or Wednesday, depending on my mood. But if you want to really catch me and talk about figures or anything else, follow me on Twitch. It's free. And I'm mostly there every night. And once again, thank you for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next review.